Hi, welcome to Talking and Reading from Japan. I'm Hidemi Woods. I read episodes from my books I wrote and talk about them or talk about anything that comes into my mind. I hope you enjoy here with me. Today, I read an episode from one of my books titled An Old Tree in Kyoto. Today's episode is called Outdated. It's about outdated manners of my late grandfather. Outdated. One summer in my childhood, my grandfather on my mother's side invited my mother and me to lunch. The restaurant specialty was eels. An eel is an expensive treat in Japan. We arrived at an awfully old-fashioned Japanese restaurant where we took off our shoes and sat on the floor at the low table. Except for us, only one table was occupied by a woman with a small child, who was busily stuffing the leftovers into a tin box she had brought. Every time my grandfather needed the server to come to our table, he clapped his hands twice and called out, "Hey, sister!" It was an obsolete manner no longer practiced, which embarrassed my mother and me. When our house was rebuilt, I had my own room for the first time. That time, my grandfather took my mother and me to a furniture store to buy me a bed and a wardrobe. After we chose the items, a young salesperson calculated the total. My grandfather naturally asked for a discount, but the salesperson's offer didn't satisfy him at all. He was an old patron of the store and had bought every piece of furniture there for my mother when she got married. He was used to special treatment and assumed he would get one there. But the salesperson declined the further discount as he was new and didn't know my grandfather. Even so, my grandfather persisted and decided the total amount of his own. He handed bills to the salesperson and told him how much the change to be brought back should be. My grandfather's way apparently perplexed the salesperson. Standing next to my grandfather, I was so embarrassed again. Eventually, a long tug-of-war was over, and the salesperson brought back what my grandfather had told him. My bed and wardrobe were successfully discounted, but I learned my grandfather's style was outdated in the modern world. That was today's episode. That happened when I was quite young. I was a small child. But even then, I knew his manners were outdated. And I remember I was embarrassed so much. I understand to him when he was young or he was not that old, his way was quite cool and stylish in a way. So he practiced by believing he was behaving uh, in a stylish way. And he didn't um, update it, updated his update his manners. So naturally, his manners were had been gradually obsolete and getting old. But he firmly believed it was a cool way. So whenever we happened to go somewhere together, he practiced. He practiced his way everywhere we went. So it was kind of funny to see him act like that. And thinking his behavior back, because he passed away about 20 years ago, 15 years ago. I think it seems, from now, it seems almost sweet. And it was really funny now, thinking back his ways. In this episode, I wrote about a restaurant that serves eels, and eels are really special, expensive treat in Japan. And it was supposed to, eating eels is supposed to be a gorgeous occasion, special occasion. But the restaurant my grandfather brought me was a really old place, and too much Japanese style for me, I felt. Because back in those days, those restaurants in the old Japanese style were popular. But from that early childhood, I had never been a big fan of those styled restaurants, because I really didn't like and still don't like a Japanese style restaurant. The reason was I don't like take off my shoes to eat in the restaurant, and I don't like to sit directly onto the floor. I would rather sit in a chair and eat from a table with a decent height. It's so eating out something with barefoot and sitting on the tatami floor and eating from a low table is so so sad for me. It's just too low, I feel. So I just don't like it. That's probably comes from the my childhood lifestyle. I grew up in a farmer's house. My family business was farming, and so the I lived in a traditional farmer, a Japanese traditional farmer house, which had half earth floor and other half of tatami floor. So basically, I walked right into the house with my shoes on, like into the Western style house. We didn't take off our shoes when we enter our house. And the dining room was located in that earth floor part. So we ate every meal with our shoes on and from the table, sitting in a chair. So although our house was so old, it had a Western style. And I think maybe I got used to it so much. Eating by sitting on the floor from the low table feels like wrong. It's just I'm not accustomed to it. And so I always feel funny when I do it. So I just avoid doing that as much as possible. Of course, I live in Japan, and when I as my daily life, I take off my shoes when I get into my own apartment. But uh, I still don't sit on the floor. I sit in the chair and eat meals from a table. Uh, but um, it's no problem when I'm in my apartment because I can do whatever I um, the way I like. Um, but uh, eating out is so difficult for me in Japan because many many restaurants in Japan have Japanese style. So there are still quite a few places require to its customers to take off their shoes when they get in to the restaurant. At the entrance of the restaurant, sometimes we need to take off our shoes. Uh, even where, even the place um, has tables and chairs, they often, not often, sometimes ask for the customers to take off their shoes. So, although we are sitting in chairs, our foot is bare. I mean, we are eating with barefoot. I don't think that Japanese way is so hygienic. I'm fussy about hygiene and um, I I always sanitize everything in my whole life. So for me, taking off shoes and walk into somewhere with barefoot or socks, even when even if I wear my socks, I feel it's dirty to step into the floor that many people are stepping onto with their feet. It's so it's not hygienic. I don't like it. I it it gives me goosebumps because it's so dirty with germs. I don't like it. But um, many people prefer Japanese ways. They when I see the place require the system of taking off shoes, I just don't go there. I stopped entering it. But many Japanese people see it lucky. They prefer taking off their shoes. And that is what I really don't understand. Even some hotels in Japan also require the guests to take off their shoes at the entrance of the hotel. And that's really out of the question for me. So dirty. And Japanese style hotels are so unique, and they don't have beds in their room. Japanese style rooms have futons that were laid directly onto tatami floor, and guests walk around with barefoot and directly get into that futon when they go to sleep. Ooh. I definitely can't do that. And Japanese people sleep that way in their home, so they are used to it, and I understand they feel comfortable with their with those ways, because that was similar to their daily life. But I just, though I've lived in Japan my whole life except for maybe 5 years or so, I still can't get used to a Japanese way, and I still struggle with fitting in. But don't get me wrong, I love Japanese foods. So although I dislike Japanese styled restaurants, I really love Japanese foods that they serve there, like sashimi, raw fish, sushi, tempura, sukiyaki, and of course eels, And I like takoyaki so much. Have you ever heard takoyaki before? Uh, it's a very popular snack of Japan, and was like it. They look like cheese balls. Um, we mix flour, egg, ginger, and leek, and bake the dough into small balls, and we into each ball we put chopped octopus into it, and it's so popular in Japan, and also okonomiyaki. So it's really, it's another popular snack of Japan. That was like closed pizza, or how can I explain it? I once heard one of Formula One drivers call it Japanese style pancake. It's just okonomiyaki has cabbage inside it, not like pancake. So I in my whole life I've been looking for a restaurant that where I can eat those delicious Japanese foods in a Western style interior. It's so difficult. So it's a hard mission for me, but I'm still looking for the place which has both Western style interior and Japanese foods. That's all for today. I hope you enjoy this show and come back soon here. Thanks for listening. Until next time, take care and be well.